Welcome to the show, Steve Salvari. You are a roadie, producer, tour manager, and mentor, to name a few of your attributes, along with being a founder member of Central Line. Your introduction to a career with music began one day with a friend of yours. You saw an advert for a singer, and the band turned out to be the Diversions. Joe got the gig, and you followed playing guitar, and you also sang there. And basically, everything opened up from there for you. You've worked with a variety of artists, Robert Palmer, Barry White, Chaka Khan, to name a few, and you've appeared on Top of the Pops, Wogan, Saturday Night Live. There's a ton of other stuff to talk about with you, Steve. Thank you for joining us on the show, and please do tell us more.
Well, I'm a musician, songwriter, producer, general factotum bloke, as you can tell from some of that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Been around for a while. Been, spending a lot of time lately playing with various bands, and here I am.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Wow. Barry White.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was my reaction too.
Yeah, man.
And it was, yeah.
It was quite something working with Barry, man.
Yeah, man. Them women went crazy over Barry.
I know, it's that voice.
Yeah.
He had that baritone.
We couldn't believe our luck. There was a group of us from the Brit Funk days, and we all got booked to, a phone call came through. Barry White's looking for a band to do these 2 TV shows. We were going to do Wogan and Top of the Pops. And, do you want to do it?
Well, like you're going to say no, aren't you?
That's probably one of the dumbest questions I've ever been asked.
You're never going to say no, eh?
Exactly. So, the first one was Wogan, and we turn up there, and, because this was like, 87? And some of us hadn't seen each other for a quick minute, so there was a lot of chatter going on, and, we're all excited. And then we went down to the room where they were shooting this stuff, and we were all at one end, right? And at the top end, in walks Barry White with Glodine, right, his wife. And,
wow.
We couldn't hear, but it's obviously saying, "Where's my band?" And the producer turned around and pointed at us lot, cowering in the corner. Jesus Christ, Barry White, are you serious? And he came over and introduced himself.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like we didn't know who he was. Right? He was so polite, and he introduced me to his wife, Glodine. And, we were just like shaking, man. It's like Barry White, man. I mean, he's a big man, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
At the time, he was down to 19 stone, down from 24 at the time, he told me.
Oh, my God.
And, we did the show, smashed the bits out of it. And at the time, I just got involved with a thing called the Sickle Cell Gala. It was, a charity thing to raise money for awareness of the disease,
Yeah.
And the top guys within that organization were like David Grant and ex of Lynx and a few other guys. And they said to me, "Look, do you think you could ask Barry, if he'd come on the show?" Right. So after we'd done the gig and stuff, I hung around and waited for him to come out. And I said, "Barry, I'd like to speak to you." He said, "What about?" A bit of business. He said, "Come to my hotel." Didn't mess about. Just come to my hotel.
Wow.
I ended up in his room with his nephew, who was his gopher bodyguard. Because trust me, his nephew was bigger than him. Right?
Oh, my God.
Well-known football player, American footballer. Blanchard Montgomery III. Right? Only in America, hey? So it was, I'm sitting in a room with Barry White, Glodine White, and Blanchard. And I'm thinking to myself, this is so unreal. I can't believe it, right? So, we kept in touch for a little piece. It didn't quite work out for the actual gala. His schedules clashed. Yeah. But we kept in touch for a minute. And one time he called me, he said, "Do you know any really good percussion players?" Because he was coming over to do one of his big shows and didn't like the percussion players that he was auditioning and stuff. And he asked me.
Yeah.
And I happen to know 2 really good ones, right? So I put them in his band and stuff, right? And of course, I got a free show.
Oh my God. There you
Yeah.
go.
Oh, what a
You know,
story.
some of the stuff that's happened to me, you couldn't make it up, man, and I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like that.
So cool. Excellent.
That was the Love Unlimited
Yeah.
orchestra. Did he have strings with him?
Yep. Yeah. You know, he had the whole works.
Mm.
Wow.
Watching Barry get up on the podium and start conducting it, you know, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and here's another thing: his guitar player, what was it, Emmett? I can't remember his surname now. Emmett something Jr. was over here for a while back in the late 70s, early 80s and stuff.
Mm.
And my brother got some guitar lessons off of him.
Oh man.
Wow.
He actually came to our house.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you couldn't make it up.
No.
No.
The Diversions, you know, that early band, there's something weird about my life, you know. Throughout my life, I've continued to meet people just randomly sometimes, you know. The lead singer of that band was a girl called Lena Lovitch, who had massive success later on with a tune called Number One. Right, it's massive hit.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the lead singer of that band, and you know, and that was kind of like the beginning of me just bashing into people and stuff, right? At that time, you know, my working lifestyle, I was a civil servant, job that did not agree with me. I spent 4 years looking out the window and writing poetry. The top man one day called me into his office and said to me, "Look here, Salvari, you're a thoroughly decent chap, but I think your vocation lies elsewhere." And that was the heads up, because in those days, civil service, you didn't get sacked, you got sent to Outer Mongolia. And that particular branch had an office on the furthest regions of Scotland. Right. It was a one-man office. And that's where they sent people that they wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
My guy liked me enough to tell me, best if you quit. Right?
Yeah,
so I did. And I got a job working for a music company, equipment hire and rehearsal studios, and it really kicked off from there. That's where I met the future Central Line guys. They'd got a record deal with one of the offshoots of Carlin Music. Their MD worked at the same place as me. Once he got to know me, he said to me, "Listen, man, you know, I'm looking after this band, you know, you should join up with them." And I was like 22 or something, right? So I said, "Okay, so how old are they then?" He went like 18. Like, you know, 18 or 19. I said, "No, man, you know, I was a big man, you know what I mean?" You know?
Yeah.
I kept saying no. But during that time, you know, the punk thing had kicked off. Generation X were rehearsing there. Susie and the Banshees and various others, Kiki D. And then one day Led Zeppelin walked in, right? That was something.
Yeah.
Eventually, the MD guy, Richard Lightman, tricked me into going down to meet these guys, these kids, right?
Right.
So they were kids to me, right? So I go down there and I take a Fender Rhodes, right? I'd only recently found out what Fender Rhodes was actually.
Wow.
Right.
I remember we were listening to Herbie Hancock's Chameleon, right? I just got the album.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I lost my mind, right? Because, you know, it or not, they released that as a single. Right, they wouldn't do it now. 7-inch. There's a 7-inch version of Chameleon, right, without the middle section, right. And you know, I remember, you know, as the tune faded away on the single, I bought it, you know, and I was listening, leaning into the radio, and as it's fading, because they were having a whale of a time on this record. I was like,
oh yeah, definitely.
You know, there's got to be more than that, right? And then I found out about the album, so I bought the album. The middle section of Chameleon, I lost my mind, because it goes completely Harvey Mason doing that backwards hi-hat thing.
Yeah.
What the hell? And then Herbie comes in and it just goes into this other world. And I'm like, what the hell is that sound? So I turned the album over and it said Herbie Hancock plays Fender Rhodes. And I was like, what's that?
Wow.
So I took it down, and it was Kamel Hines. These are the original members of the future Central Line. Kamel Hines, Henry Defoe, Lipson Francis, and the future Imagination drummer, Errol Kennedy, right? And they're all set up, and I'm like, "Oh, hi, guys." And Lipson loses, because he was the other keyboard player, never played a Fender Rhodes in his life. And he's just like lost his mind. Can I play it? You know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's fiddling about with it. And Richard says to him, okay, well, go on then, play him something. All right. They launched into Gentle Thoughts. It's one of Herbie's most beautiful compositions, right? And that was that. They played it so beautifully. And I was in. I said, right, okay. You know,
had Bill Summers in there, and
you know the run-ins, man, you know. And
Paul Jackson.
Yeah, all those guys, you know, it was just, you know, a wonderful piece of work. And it all started from there, really. You know, I was delivering stuff to, you know, various bands. You know, I remember delivering to David Essex. The craziest one was delivering to a band called Bebop Deluxe, right? Bebop Deluxe were doing stuff in the mid-'70s and stuff. They were a pretty popular band, well-respected and stuff. The boss said, right, you got to take all this gear down to, they were sound staging at either Pinewood or Shepperton studios, huge, great studios, right? Loaded up this van to the rafters and said, right, Steve, you've got to take that down to Bebop Deluxe. And I said, what, me one? Are you sure? You see how much gear's on there? And they went, no, it's okay. They'll have roadies at the other end. So I drove down there, man. And of course, I'd never been to a soundstage before. You know, you could fit a whole estate in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right down the bottom was the stage set up, and there was only the keyboard player there, right? So I'm a bit annoyed. And I walk up to him and say, man, you know, I've got all this gear. I was told there's going to be roadies here and stuff. And he's like, oh, man, we were on one last night, mate. They'll be here soon, right? And he goes, so do you play? I said, yeah. And, I was just beginning, really. And he says, I've just learned this. And I went, I've just learned this. So we started bonding, right? So eventually, the roadies turn up, the rest of the band turn up, get all the gear loaded on, you know, to set up and stuff. And I've got to get back because I'd not been too long in the job. So the job was only supposed to take me a couple of hours, you know, at the most. And so me and the keyboard player, we swear eternal friendship to each other, and I drive off. And I have no clue whatsoever how I'm going to get home, all right, get back to base. So I'm driving. I'm thinking, how, you know, and I saw this garage. So I pulled into this garage and I said, excuse me, mate, can you tell me how I can get back to so-and-so? He said, yeah, sure. And you've got to take that road, Told me how to get home. So I leap back in the van. I get back in and start driving off, and not a word of what he said remained in my head, right? So I'm driving. I'm getting a bit paranoid now, you know? And I think to myself, my God, you know, what did he say? So eventually I saw another garage. So I pulled into the garage and said, excuse me, mate, can you tell me how I can get to? And he says, yeah, you can do this, da. So thanks, mate. Let back in the van, drove off. Not a word of what he said remained in my head. So I'm driving that and I'm crying because I'm thinking to myself, I'm never going to see my mother again. Right? And I'm crying and I'm driving. And eventually I saw a garage and I pulled in and I said, excuse me, mate, can you tell me how I can get to so-and-so? And he said to me, mate, I've already told you twice.
Uh-oh.
Oh, brilliant.
Eventually I got back and I was looking at the sack. The manager stormed into the room. Where the F have you been? Blah, blah, blah. You know, and I said, boss, wait. And I told him the whole story, right? And by the time I'd finished, he was lying on the floor. And I kept my job.
Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, you know, it just went on like that. The band that I joined with the future Central Line guys was called TFB. And eventually we broke up. And then through circumstances, a band called Light of the World had formed.
Yeah.
And we all knew each other. So when TFB broke up, Kenny Wellington said, come and play with us.
Yeah.
I played with Light of the World for a few months. Yeah. And then a chance meeting with a lawyer, a friend of mine hooked me up to go and talk to this guy over some matter or the other. And we hit it off, right? And at the end of the meeting, he said, so what do you do? Because it was non-musical. What do you do? And I said, oh, you know, I'm a musician, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, at the minute, you know, I'm just writing songs and stuff. And he said, there's a guy looking for a band over at CBS. You should go and see him. The lawyer turned out to be my lifelong lawyer and my friend, a guy called Alexis Grower. I made the call, made the meeting, and I met up with a guy called Dave Beechin. You know, we talked and stuff, and he said, play me some stuff. So, you know, I just played some piano. He said, well, I really like that, but I'm really looking for a band. And it turned out later that he just missed out on a band called High Tension, which everybody was after at the time, right? I can confidently say they're the ones that kicked it off, really, because once High Tension came through, everybody wanted a Brit Funk band, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he just missed out on that. And he said, well, you know, I'm looking for a band. So if you get one, please call me, right? Not long after that, a couple of the guys from TFB came over and said they wanted to start the band up again, right?
Right.
So I called Dave Beach and said, I got a band. And that's where it started. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how quick it happened. We reformed in March of 78. The management came in April of 78. Our first gig was with Greg Edwards. Our next gig was in front of 5,000 people at Alexander Palace all day, right?
Yeah.
And we ended the year on Linda Lewis's road show on our first TV, and with a record deal on the table. We signed Mercury Records in January, I believe it was. And then we were on tour with Roy Ayers, the first tour. The second tour was Grover Washington. The third tour was The Real Thing, at the height of their success. That was 1979. And the fourth tour was with Fat Larry's band, right? That's how fast it happened.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was quite a time. That was the real start of stuff.
Now, you play several instruments, right?
I've been known to.
Okay. I fake it till I make it, you know.
Yeah, you know, drums, guitar, bass, and keyboards.
Yeah.
And I sing a bit too.
You heard that. I saw your YouTube. Yeah, man.
Love it.
Tom?
So with regards to what you do now, are you still very much kind of producing music and kind of stuff like that? Or what?
I've been through so many different stages. You know, I've run my own studios. You know, I got into artist development, which is something I'll never do again.
Uh-oh.
And, you know, you ask any producer, we've all got the same story. And suddenly they can do it better, right? Yeah. I did a lot of TV work. After the Central Line days were over, there was a great guy called Ray Carlos. I would say he was one of the most unsung band leaders. He had so many people pass through his band and stuff. He was the first one to call me. There was a great scene going on in Great Portland Street. And, you know, so many musicians passed through that. It's a great experience. Later on, I joined Ruby Turner, mid-80s. And then all the TV stuff started happening, you know. As you heard, I did Barry White, a girl called Judy Cheeks, Tina Turner's niece. That was my first video. And it just kept coming. You know, then it was Barry White. Then, you know, got the gig with Robert Palmer. Which was really something. That was really something. I mean, you know, Barry White was really something. I mean, in fact, all of them were really something. Right?
Yeah. I used to love Robert Palmer.
Robert Palmer was one of those guys that knew a lot about a lot of things, right? Yeah. I mean, I did his promotional videos for 3 years, you know, finishing up. I think the last thing I did with him was at Top of the Pops in 91 or something. I made a film with him, and it got to be, you know, he used to give me this sly look whenever I turned up on the set. And I'd say to him, all right, what you got for me? And he would lay some stuff on me that you never heard before, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, he just knew stuff. And, he, you know, he was a great guy to work with. And, you know, I regard that as a, you know, a special moment. But as I said, you know, earlier, I got involved with the sickle cell. We raised fortunes, thousands of pounds to help, you know, raise awareness of that. Yeah. You know, we used to have the house band. You know, I've run out of how many people, you know, Errol Brown, Cliff Richard, Paul Weller, Aswad. I mean, it just went on and on. Yeah. And then 95, Chaka Khan was going to be our guest of honor. Right. And she wasn't supposed to sing. She wasn't supposed to do anything. She was just turning up. They were going to give her a prize and all this kind of business, right? And I said, because I had the stiffest band. And I said to the boys, listen, mate, we got to get her on our CV. So I said, when they bring her out, we're going to play a few bars of Ain't Nobody just to show her we got the chops, right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the band was untouchable. I'm telling you. In fact, because I remember Lulu was on that bill and Billy Ocean as well was on that bill. During the sound check in the afternoon, I had my kid with me who was just turned 14 that day. Wow. And Lulu and her brother took a real shine to him, right? And they took him for lunch at the Hard Rock Cafe. I remember Lulu saying to him, "You're not impressed with all these famous people, are you?" He went, "No, not really." So she said, "Well, we're going to take you to lunch. And we're going to go to the Hard Rock Cafe and we don't have to queue," she says.
Oh,
there you go.
There you
so,
go.
That's the way. Love it.
In the meantime, right, so, I said, it's his birthday. And she was like, his birthday? And the rest of the band heard that. Is it his birthday? Right. And the whole band struck up happy birthday, right?
Yeah.
It was a great present for a 14-year-old, right? They all sat around. Yeah. I remember Misha Paris was sitting next to me. When the band kicked off, she said, "What the hell?" I said, "Yeah, that's right. That's my band." Right?
I sang on their first record.
Really?
Yeah.
That's something. Because we know, because when she turned up, that was something,
Yeah, man, it was amazing.
It was the lit. So the sound check went, it's the night, and we'd rehearsed Ain't Nobody. I said, we give us 18, 16 bars just to show her we got it, right? So here they come on the night. Here she comes. They bring her in, standing ovation. Now the room was full of people you see on TV, full of them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And gave her a standing ovation and stuff. And I said, right, bam, we hit the stage and licked Ain't Nobody, right? And we licked it hard. And she stopped and she looked. And she said,
Yeah.
And then they took her to her seat, right? And, the rest of the show went on. And we kept sending her notes. Come on, man. What you doing? And they were giving her a good time. She was full of champagne and stuff. And she said, "Nah, it's okay. I'm really having a good time." But she was real good friends with Misha Paris, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So Misha said, we were getting a bit desperate. She kept saying no. So Misha goes, "Don't worry, boys, I'll get her up," right? Wow. So after we'd smashed the living daylights out of every act, I promise you it was one of the best bands I've ever played in.
I love it, man.
We smashed the living daylights out of it. All of a sudden we get this note. Okay, she wants to come up. Right? So she comes up. Absolute, we hit it. The whole place went berserk, right?
Yeah.
It was like £80 a ticket back in '95, so it's a lot of money.
Yeah, right?
They all rushed to the front of the stage and it was kicking off, right? She sang the shit out of it, man. And we played the shit out of it. And that's the only tune we'd learned, right?
Yeah.
So we finished the tune. The house is in pandemonium, right? And we, Lulu and Billy Ocean still had to come on, right?
Right.
So we're getting ready for the next. For Lulu was next on, and by the way, Lulu was like, "Oh no, I've got to follow her." So we were supposed to do 3 numbers. Yeah. And she calls me over because she had a ballad, a really sweet ballad that she was going to do. She calls me over and says, Steve, we've got to drop that number. I was like, "Oh no," because we really liked it, the band. She goes, no, we'll just do, we'll do Shout, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah. So I said, okay, right. So we're getting prepared for Lulu to come on, and Chaka starts calling other numbers.
Uh-oh. Listen, man, we're gonna have to have you back.
It just shows you got tons of stories, and you'd be welcome to come back on anytime you like. So with that, I'll just add, if you've got any sort of socials or anything, people can check out what you're doing. If you can give us those, or if you can quickly tell us the kind of handles.
My website is stevesalvari.com.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly operate on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just Steve Salvari.
Okay.
I'm on Instagram at Salvari Steve.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's me, you know.
Well, I'll
Right
put
on.
those links in the video here for people to check you out. And like I say, we'll definitely have you back because I think we've got a few.
Oh
seconds
yeah, he got
left,
some
but,
stories. He was just
I
getting
was
started.
just getting started, man.
Thank you so much for joining us, Steve.
Steve, namaste, my brother.
Thanks for joining us.
Namaste, and thanks for having me on.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.